Okay, welcome everybody to the September 17th, 2025 Environmental Quality Commission meeting. This is an in-person meeting and virtual meeting with Environmental Quality Commission EQC members, city staff, and members of the public. I will now like to introduce staff and EQC members present. In the room, we have Chair McKenna, Vice Chair Meyer, Commissioners Angel, Headley, Hernandez, Hill, and Kissel. Staff present is Sustainability Manager Rachel Launder and Management Analyst 2, Liz Tapia. Ms. Launder, would you please provide instructions to the Commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Thank you, Chair McKenna. I'll share a process for public comment. If you're in person, we have public comment cards over there on both sides of this desk. If you're online, you can hit the raise hand button, which is either at the bottom of your screen or to the right of your name, depending on your device, and I will be able to unmute you. And if you are calling in, you can press *9 and we will also be able to unmute you. And tonight you'll have up to 3 minutes for public comment. And so I'll leave it there and return the meeting back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So under public comment, the public may address the Commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the Commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. While you are not required to provide your name or city of residence, it is helpful. The Commissioner cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the Commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment, other than to provide general information. Sustainability Manager Launder, could you please call for public comment?
Sure. Is there any public comment in the room for items not on the agenda? Please return a card to me. If you're online and you have public comment related to items not on the agenda, please hit the raise hand button. And if you're calling in, you can press *9. I do not see any hands online, but we do have a card in the room. So we will start with Brian Schmidt for 3 minutes.
Thanks. Good evening, Brian Schmidt, Menlo Spark. I just want to bring up something. I'm sure a lot of people are aware that federal rebates are running out at the end of this month. I just learned about 2 other reasons why now might be a good time to get EVs. One is that we're ending the model year, the 2025 model year. Companies that are trying to clear out the 2025 model year to make room for the 2026 model year might offer good deals. And the second is that some of those same companies are quite possibly waiting for 2026 to impose the tariff costs of the new tariffs that have been brought through and holding off to the model year change. So this might be a good time to let anyone know that want to get an EV, now is an excellent time to do it.
Not only that, the leases are just amazing. There are like $125 a year leases for like Chevy and VW right now. Yeah, it's
A year.
incredible. No, a month,
Or-
$125 a month. I
Oh.
mean,
That's
it's just insane. So yeah, I've been broadcasting to all my friends as well.
That's exactly what we all should be doing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Chair, I will return the meeting to you. I don't see any more hands raised or cards in the room.
Okay, we will move on to agenda item D, regular business. Item D1, we will approve the August 20, 2025 Environmental Quality Commission meeting minutes. Are there any clarifying questions from the EQC before we take public comment on this item? Seeing none. Ms. Launder, do we have any public comment on this item?
Sure, let me open up public comment for item D1, approve the August 20th, 2025 Environmental Quality Commission meeting minutes. If you're in the room, you can grab a public comment card and return it to me. If you're online, you can hit the raise hand button. And if you're calling in, you can press *9 and we should be able to unmute you. I don't see any cards in the room or hands online, so we can close public comment for item D1 and return the meeting to you, Chair.
Okay, we can open this item up for EQC discussion and or motion. Got a motion?
Oh, move to,
Approve the minutes.
thank you. Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hill and a second by Commissioner Kissel to approve the August 20th, 2025 Environmental Quality Commission meeting minutes. And we can just do voting all at once, so all in favor?
Aye.
Some, the
I'm gonna
motion,
abstain,
okay. Okay,
because I wasn't here.
any opposed? Okay, any abstaining? Okay,
I wasn't here either, so actually. You were online.
You were
I was
here.
online, that's right. I wasn't physically here. Good.
okay, the motion passes with 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstaining.
Okay. Thank you all. We will now move on to item D2. Update on building electrification outreach and the home upgrade services program. Sustainability staff will present this item.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so annually, we have the opportunity to check in with the EQC on our outreach related to building electrification across the city. This month, we really wanted to focus on our home upgrade program, since there's been some changes since we last checked in and a lot of progress as well as some opportunities. So we were thinking we could have some discussion that would help staff, continue to advance the program and make some, slight improvements based on EQC feedback this evening. So I'll give some background on the program, since there are some new commissioners since we first launched. We'll share about our outreach and education, get into our details related to the home upgrade services program, as well as how implementation of the program enhancements that the EQC discussed last year have been going. So the state appropriated $4.5 million to the city of Menlo Park for community-wide electrification, initially to be expended by June 2026. We have since worked with the state to have our deadline extended to December 2027. But we still have to spend our first half of the funding by March 2026 to demonstrate that we're making progress and to be able to invoice the state for the second half of the funding before this fiscal year ends for them. In April 2024, with city council approval, the city executed an agreement for $2.21 million with Prince Upton Energy with the goal to electrify 40 to 60 homes. And that was our vision for spending the first half of this grant fund. And we thought it would be kind of a program that we would quickly spend down the money and we would have kind of no issue. And we would move into, the second half maybe the same way or with a different project. And so as I mentioned earlier, we won't receive that second half until we've spent that first half, which is why we kind of expanded what we're doing. Get into that in the next few slides. And so February 2025, we had been recognizing our program wasn't spending as quickly as it needed to be to meet our deadline and our milestones with the state. And so we offered, new outreach strategies and program enhancements and project options to the EQC. In March, the city council directed staff to implement the EQC's recommendation around the suite of program enhancements. And as I mentioned, in July, we received new information from the state that we had some additional breathing room to spend the funds. And so, as I mentioned, with our electrification outreach, we've been really focused on Belhaven because of this exciting grant opportunity. We have shared information about home electrification more broadly across the community, but this presentation is really going to focus on what we've done in our Belhaven neighborhood. And so we've tabled at 15 community events, most of them being in Belhaven. We've attended community meetings and events hosted by our community-based organizations and other partners. We've knocked on 90 doors. That was just on one day. That's Liz, me, and Jocelyn from Menlo Spark. But Menlo Spark and Climate Resilient Communities believes that they've knocked on 75% of the homes in Belhaven to date. And that was one of our signs we saw in the field. So we were excited to see an electrification fan out there. We've posted on social media 15 times, published in our weekly digest, sent direct mail to 1,260 single-family households in Belhaven, and we've made direct phone calls to leads that we've received from residents who are really champions of this program. We've also been calling our applicants who have found their way to our program from one of our flyers or other outreach touch points. Through our city application, we've scheduled 54 home assessments. Oops. We've also gone through, quite a few different marketing iterations, and so I'm excited to share some new materials with you all. But we've made significant updates to our home electrification website to make the call to action really clear that there's this program that residents in Belhaven can participate in. And if you're outside of Belhaven, we offer, the other program pathways through Peninsula Clean Energy. We've built wonderful partnerships with climate resilient communities, Great Alternatives, Habitat for Humanity, Peninsula Clean Energy, and Menlo Spark, as well as Rebuilding Together Peninsula, to coordinate outreach and to go the extra step of helping to layer programs for clients in all of our programs. And so we'll have, homeowners who are working with Habitat for Humanity to do ADA upgrades, and they'll make referrals to our home upgrade program for electrifying their appliances. And so we have a couple of case studies where, because we're coordinating on a regular basis, we've been able to share leads. The other ways we've been really most successful and we've seen people come into our program have been our in-person touch points from canvassing and being at community events. And so I teased that we have some upcoming branding materials. Liz has been working really hard with our partner Good Stuff, which is a marketing agency. And they've led the County of San Mateo's electrification communication strategy, which will be launching in the fall. So you'll start to see billboards, bus wraps, radio ads, TV ads maybe. They have a much wider campaign across San Mateo County that we've been really eager for. And so we've taken some of that messaging and added our look and feel. So that way when folks see the bus wrap and they get the mailer from us, it all starts to kind of connect and gel. And so we were really excited to have the opportunity to work with them. And you'll see here, this is one of our posters that we're looking forward to posting in businesses and at our Belhaven Community Campus and other locations across the city. And we had the opportunity to feature Karen Williams and her grandson, D'Angelo. She was one of our first participants and has been a wonderful community champion as part of the community climate change team out of Belhaven. And we're also excited. We've heard a lot while we're tabling that community members are really interested in this program, but they're living in multifamily. This program now serves renters if you're in, 1 to 4 units, but larger multifamily residents have been left out of the program. And now we'll be offering a kit or a bundle of portable appliances that will be installing with Belhaven Community Development Fund. So that should be launching in the next couple of months. And we're excited we've been able to be responsive to what we're hearing out in the community. We'll also have workshops on October 27th and 28th at the Belhaven Community Campus. I believe the English one will be the 27th. And then the Spanish one will be on October 28th. It's also Hollow Week at BHCC. So we're hoping a lot of folks who wouldn't normally show up will be around and will be able to engage in this program. And so since this program's in partnership with Peninsula Clean Energy, we're running it through their home upgrade services program, which is actually territory wide. So they're offering home electrification across San Mateo County and Los Banos. They've been supporting our outreach, and they have unique channels that they have access to, like customer account information. And so they've sent targeted emails using that data. They've also sent mail and have canvassed on doors through CRC. So that's that kind of metric I shared earlier. We did host a workshop with CRC and Peninsula Clean Energy at the Belhaven Community Campus with 55 attendees, and we're excited to continue partnering with them. They also table regularly at events and have a large network of volunteers and ambassadors who share about our program. And so what we're really offering, it kind of sounds complicated sometimes, like whole home electrification or whole house upgrades. It's pretty simple. It's a pretty discrete list of things we're looking to do. And a homeowner can really choose what they want based on a scope that they get during their assessment. So we're looking at installing heat pump space heating and cooling, heat pump water heater, induction cooktop, stove, as well as cookware, an electric dryer. We also offer some electrical remediation to be able to install those appliances, and some minor energy efficiency and weatherization if it's really needed, or we're kind of touching the part of the home where that installation can be added, like adding hot water heater installation is a really easy measure. We are also offering EV charging outlets. That's something the homeowner is interested in. And we've just now started offering solar and battery to homeowners who have completed the whole home electrification. And so we have that on kind of a more limited basis. So Peninsula Clean Energy's qualifications really for their service territory is that you have to be one of their residential customers. So we have run across homeowners who aren't PCE customers, and we've been able to get them signed up for PCE and provide that kind of outreach and education. But the residents must be a single family home that's owner occupied with existing gas fired equipment. And that the homeowner may not sell the home for 5 years after the installation. And that's for the state to be able to verify that the grant funds were used and the project is still in place. And after kind of adding the program enhancements into the qualifications, a homeowner must now meet income eligibilities. Oh, sorry. So the original qualifications was 80% of AMI. And so we increased that to 120% of area median income. And we've now allowed rental properties if both the homeowner and the tenant meet the income eligibility. So since the program soft launched to kind of the latest data we have 72 assessments scheduled. 55 of those assessments have been completed. 37 have signed participation agreement, and 10 installations have been completed. And Peninsula Clean Energy has invoiced us for $345,009. And we are projecting to have 132 scheduled assessments over kind of the lifetime of this contract with Peninsula Clean Energy. 100 completed assessments, 60 signed participation agreements, and 17 installations completed. Okay, and you can see here, kind of the variability in signups across month to month. So, you know, we can attribute, I think our November one was that we had a postcard go out. And we had, you know, kind of culmination of events. And you can see that we kind of had a slowdown this summer, and we're ramping back up this month with assessments scheduled. So the program enhancements that the EQC considered and the city council gave us direction to advance. We've talked about a few of these, and we provide updates to city council on these each month at the second meeting of the month. But I'll just kind of share these on the screen in case anyone's wanting a refresh. But we're making progress across all 7 program enhancements, from offering a matching rebate for Belhaven residents that aren't income eligible for the full home electrification. Electrifying the Belhaven Child Development Center, which we have exciting advancements on. Increasing our marketing and outreach, which we've accomplished, and we have printed materials over there that we can look at together, or you can take on your way out. As well as, you know, installing residential solar and battery storage systems, where we're in conversations with multiple homeowners about what it would take to upgrade their homes. And so we're thinking, that by March 2026, we'll have spent just about $1.8 million on upgrading homes in Bellhaven. We'll have spent $140 additional dollars on outreach and $117,000 on the design services for electrifying the Bellhaven Child Development Center, and $100,000, our full budget, on the rental electrification bundles. And that will get us that 2.25 million to submit a report to the state and invoice for our second half. And we are looking at, continuing with the home electrification in Bellhaven. That's been kind of our priority. So even, as our kind of contract wraps up with Peninsula Clean Energy, evaluating ways if we want to extend that contract or approach it from, another programmatic angle, but allocating almost as much from the second half of the funding to directly electrifying homes in Bellhaven. Having, 0 to marginal budget for outreach, since we've spent a lot of money kind of on the upfront creating materials. And the remaining funds will be spent on construction of the electrification upgrades at the Bellhaven Child Development Center. That kind of rounds out our $4.5 million grant. And so based on this information, we think we need at least 20 more homes into our pipeline. And so we're curious if there's any ideas for outreach or any questions that could help clarify our outreach. But how can we get more homes into the program pipeline? Are there new partnerships that would be valuable that we didn't discuss during this presentation to reach residents in Bellhaven? Are there additional ideas for what the city could offer to enhance our services, to make it more palatable to residents, or more exciting, or more meeting folks with what they actually need and want? And should staff consider additional options for spending the community-wide grant funds, or does it seem like the right move to continue to focus on the single-family homes in Bellhaven for our income-eligible residents? And then we can also discuss any other things that might have come up with kind of the data or background. So we can leave it there for clarifying questions.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any clarifying questions from EQC before we take public comment?
I don't know if it's a clarifying question, but a couple, the upgrade services, the menu, basically, I think you said you could get a la carte, like the homeowner could choose which ones they want. Do we have data on who selected what services?
Yeah, definitely. That's something we could provide. Not off the top of my head. We do know that homeowners have to either pick their HVAC or their water heater, and then the remaining appliances are more optional. I think we found the least uptake in the dryers. And yeah, I could look at the data.
Dryers?
Yeah,
So it's a la carte, but you have to at least do a heat pump, hot water heater, or heat pump furnace.
exactly.
And have we thought about relaxing that?
We have not.
But one of the things I remember, our former council member Eduardo, talked about was the resiliency in the batteries, and battery prices are coming down a lot. For resiliency and time shifting electrical costs, regardless of whether you have solar or not. And that's a relatively easy thing for any renter to adopt and benefit from. Whereas, replacing the furnace or even hot water heater might be more challenging for those folks. So I don't know there any market research has been done to see if folks are interested in it, because it will require some education, but it does seem like an easy one to get people to opt into, because there's only a beneficial upside. There's really nothing they have to do to benefit from it. So that's one clarifying question. And then the basis for the projections on installations and dollars for the second half of the year. I'm just wondering what led to the projected number of signed agreements and installations completed and the dollar amount associated with those installations.
Sure. Yeah, so the projections are based on the monthly sign up averages between our launch to today. And so. I'm not like a financial expert, and you know, Liz and I worked on these numbers together, so maybe there's. You know, another variable into the equation, like based on how many households there are, and kind of rate of conversion. So that could be interesting to work with. With the EQC on, and then the total dollar amount was the average project cost.
Based on historical,
Yes.
okay. Those are my only two questions.
I have a question, cold calling, so to speak, was the door knocks and some of the telephone calls, is that right?
Yes.
And so, one thing I think we might want to consider as we try to think about strategies for getting the extra 20 households is where those, how effective they were and where or under what circumstances they were effective. Like, did it yield any signatures or assessments? Was it, and if so, was it in a particular neighborhood, and should we focus on that neighborhood again? You see where I'm going. It might be worth some analysis.
You have a question?
No, I'm ready to discuss. It feels like we're veering into discussion.
Yeah.
Maybe we.
I had a clarifying question that veered into
I was
it.
gonna,
Okay.
Yeah.
Should have cut me off.
let's just ask a clarifying question, please.
Quick one, were the additional 20 homes, is that just a schedule and assessment? Except
No, we would need them to. Convert
do the
into-
whole
So we
thing?
need more than 20.
20.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Okay, and you have one?
So I think kind of where Commissioner Hill was going with maybe a little deeper is just curious about what's happening between the scheduled assessment and then the signing of the participation agreement, like why are so many dropping off, and do you have any more information about that?
Yeah, so some of the things we've heard anecdotally, and it's a little tricky to figure out because we don't have access into the Salesforce tool that Peninsula Clean Energy is sharing with their subcontractor, Franklin Energy. And I believe that they're writing kind of notes into each of the customer accounts. So Peninsula Clean Energy has to go in manually to read the notes. But some of them have been, you know, canceled because the homeowner was no longer available. Some, you know, had multiple properties and wanted to do one first and see how it went. We've had others where we also allowed nonprofits into the program after that March decision. So the person managing the home doesn't live in the city, and so it's harder for them to schedule. And so it's a little bit all over the place as far as figuring out what that drop off is between the scheduled and completed assessments. We do know that kind of between the signed participation agreements and the installations completed, just the time it takes to go through permitting and to get the equipment installed, it's taking longer than we anticipated. They were thinking it'd be like a couple weeks, and it's really more like a couple months.
Renee?
And another question I had was around the doors knocked on by CRC, you said 75% of homes. Did they actually make contact with all those people, or they just knocked on the doors? I don't know if you know that, but.
Yeah, no, from the day that we went on the field, we certainly weren't making contact with most of the homeowners. So we were leaving flyers at all of them, but making contact with maybe 20%.
What was the outcome of those conversations?
So we didn't have anyone sign up on the spot, which was something we offered to homeowners who we talked to. A lot of folks were able to answer some questions about, you know, if their energy bills would increase, or they weren't sure if it was a legitimate program. And so we were able to kind of assuage some concerns. But ultimately folks were like, thanks for coming by, I'll take a flyer and think about it. Everyone was very nice. It's been a very positive experience going door to door. it's just been, challenging to get folks to kind of sign up in the moment. And I feel like once we leave, you know, the flyer goes into the pile with all the mail. It's harder to convert.
I think we had two assessments scheduled within a couple days after that. Two applications came in.
So out of 90 doors knocked?
Two.
And how long did it take you to knock 90 doors?
2 hours with 4 of us.
So one per hour. That's pretty good.
Yeah, we were excited.
I like your math.
Well, yeah, that is very
Yeah,
exciting
yeah.
because, well, we don't know what the conversion rate was for the, other people who were doing the door knocking, but, what has happened with the tables? That's probably less effective, right?
Yeah, so we found that sometimes we'll collect names and numbers, and Jocelyn actually from Menlo Spark has tabled just as much as we have in different settings, like outside of grocery stores or outside of BHCC. And we've captured phone numbers, and we're finding that some of those phone numbers don't work, or they're illegible.
Ineligible.
Illegible.
Illegible.
Yeah, illegible. I've been getting stuck on those ones.
Which doesn't make them ineligible.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're starting to collect emails and addresses, so we can follow up in multiple different ways with those folks, but we haven't yet done that.
I see somebody raised a hand.
Which is
Who is that?
Jocelyn. Oh, cool. I can let Jocelyn answer that as kind of our marketing support person. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I hope everyone can hear me. I am in my car.
Yes.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, I did hear the point about tabling, but if someone would like to repeat a question, maybe I missed. But with tabling, I think it's definitely been less effective than door knocking because a lot of people are not willing to sign up on the spot or answer too many questions. Just today, I was tabling at the BHCC, and actually, this is the second time someone has brought up a concern of or a past negative experience where they were scammed into solar panels, basically, and so having to there's a sort of mistrust we're kind of working with here. I think that's a big part of why people haven't been as willing to kind of sign up on the spot or even schedule an assessment that they're informed, doesn't commit them to going through with the program. A lot of people are not super trustful of that right now, so we're working with that.
Does the tabling vary in its success according to the context? If you're at Arbor Day, it would be better than outside the grocery store, is my thought. Any high
Definitely.
yield locations and contexts?
For sure. When we had the Bellhaven, or we tabled at the Bellhaven National Night Out event in Hamilton Park, and I was able to speak to at least 25 people in one go, maybe in 3 hours, and we got a lot of interest there. And by interest, I mean people who signed up and put their phone number down to receive a call from Liz, and a lot of questions as well. But so that definitely, a lot more people there than tabling outside the grocery store. Also, when I have been tabling in the grocery store, which has been Mi Tierra Linda in Bellhaven, most of the folks who come up to the table are renters. And so they count themselves out almost immediately.
If there's a credibility problem with being confused with a scam, then it does seem as though being outside of a city-owned building or a city-owned context would help that. So that would speak more to the Bellhaven Community Center than the grocery store.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
Thanks, Jocelyn.
Any other clarifying questions?
Oh, we're not into discussion?
No,
Oops.
But
I do have some clarifying questions. When was the date of the 55 attendee workshop? Was that recent or a long time ago?
It was pretty recent.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Like 3 months ago, I went there.
3 months ago.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And in order to get the solar and batteries, does the homeowner have to do a whole home electrification or just everything?
Yes,
Stove, dryer, everything?
yes.
Okay.
oh, wow.
And
And then we've also have some other prioritization criteria, since we have only 500,000 earmarked for those projects, and those can cost like up to 50,000. Especially with homes where we're needing to re-roof, or they have lots of generations living in one home and have a higher utility bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the dryers, you can't do electric resistance, it has to be heat pump? Or,
I think that's something we could interrogate with PCE.
okay. And then the other questions will probably lead into discussion, so, could we ask for public comment, Sandra, please?
Sure. Well, let's have public comment on item D2, which is our update on building electrification outreach and the home upgrade services program. If you would like to make public comment and you are in the room, you can return a public comment card to me. If you are online, you can press the raise hand button, and if you're calling in from a landline, you can press *9. And I don't see any hands online, but we do have a card in the room, so we can start with Brian Schmidt for your 3 minutes when you're ready.
Thanks again, Brad Schmidt, Menlo Spark. I don't know if it's possible to put slide 13 up on the screen, or for people to pull it up. But as you heard from Jocelyn, one of the things that tend to end discussions with folks is they say they're renters. And I do appreciate the some of the difficulties of this program and the application of renters as opposed to homeowners. The $100,000 in this ratio of 4.5 million is pretty low. So I guess my 2 points would be, I think it would be really helpful to get that definition of what the renter package is going to be. Because right now, when Jocelyn goes and canvasses and they say I'm a renter, she can say, well, there's a package of things for renters, and I can't tell you what it is yet. But soon we'll hopefully should be able to tell them. And relevant to that is I think, I'm not a marketing expert, but I understand you often have to hit your target more than once. So just because they've gone to 75% of the homes, doesn't mean they shouldn't be going back at some point. And maybe once you know what your rental package is, that might be a good opportunity to go back, to reach some of those folks. And I remain very interested in portable heat pumps, especially these new drop-in windowsill heat pumps. They'd be a real opportunity for renters. Something else I've been thinking about is the loss of the federal tax credits for certain aspects of homes, like batteries in particular, might be something that might be a potential expansion of this program for income qualified especially. The other question I had, I think was slide 10. I think there was a question starting to ask about that. I was multitasking, so my fault if this has been already answered. Difference between signed participation agreements and installations completed. The question I had is from the early signed participation agreements that started earliest, have there been enough of them that were 6 months ago or 8 months ago? That you could see what was the ratio of signed to completed. Because then you could then use that to try and project the goal of 60 signed participation agreements, how many you're actually going to achieve. If there's enough early data to bring that out. That was just a thought I had. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
See if there's anyone online. No hands online, so we can close public comment on item D2.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the public comments. Gonna open it up now for discussion amongst the commissioners. Anyone want to start?
Well, since I pushed a lot of discussion into clarifying questions and did that, I will summarize it to say that most likely an evaluation of the outcomes of various outreach methods would yield some ideas for the best ways to spend time on outreach that is the highest effectiveness. That is not the Marcom coming from good stuff. So that would be door knockers, tabling, cold telephone calls. I doubt they're very effective. So that would be my suggestion. And if you're getting one per hour out of knocking on the doors, I mean, you guys are pretty good at selling. So
And I'll
that might
note-
be worth a couple more hours. I don't know.
I'll note too that I think Jocelyn's really our hero on the door knocking, and she's pointed out some new messages that she's been testing at work, like talking about the air district rules and kind of like, if you're gonna need to replace this in the next few years anyway, it's gonna be a really big headache if you'll have a current gas appliance. And so she's really elevated some great messages and has been able to provide amazing bilingual outreach there. So when we went out, it was Jocelyn, myself, Liz, and Pam Dora from Habitat. So yeah, we really enjoyed learning from her. She's been out there quite a bit.
Great. Why don't we just go around the room,
Sure.
if that's okay with everyone? Yeah.
Yeah, I have
You're
some
next.
ideas. So I'm thinking about the people who've already electrified. I'm thinking we could go back to them and do a couple of things. Somehow incentivize them to tell their friends and neighbors about their experience. Get a quote, like in a testimonial, about how much better their life is as a result of electrifying, and we can use that then in marketing. But people, so to your point about people being scammed, not from the city, this community has also been scammed by the government in the past. So just because we're tabling outside Bellhaven doesn't necessarily mean the trust challenges are gone. But I think if they hear from their neighbors that they had this experience and it went really well, that they'd be more likely to say yes. Related to that, I think we could also go back, like if someone just got a heat pump water heater, we could go back and say, hey, how's it going? Do you wanna, AC and heating, cooling and all the other things?
It was a hot summer, don't you wish you had air
Yeah.
conditioning?
Yeah, so we could do that. I can see why we would have some restrictions around the batteries and the solar. At the same time, most people, like my experience, we went for solar and battery, and once we had that, there was no reason to not electrify. So I kind of wonder if we want to think about doing that first, and then people might be more inclined to do everything else. But I think that becomes an interesting question, like, do we need to do a lottery? How do we decide who gets, solar and battery? I think that would be a big question, but it could, to your point, Brian, about Eduardo's comment earlier, be really helpful in offsetting costs for folks. Yeah, and time shifting. I also just want to uplift what Brian Schmidt had said about getting clarity on the rental packages. And I have seen those over the windowsill that are like very sleek and they're like good looking and they're not that expensive. And so maybe I like the idea of adding that in, but I don't really know what's in that package.
That is a part of it, if I may, and we are very open to learning about different models.
Okay.
Because we've heard mixed reviews on some, so we want to be really intentional about ones that are energy efficient.
Yeah.
And quiet and other things.
Those were my comments.
Vice Chair Meyer?
I mean, I think I would piggyback a little bit off of Nancy and like kind of highlighting the successful people that have done it, and also curious to see like with the 10 completed installations, like how did we connect with them? Like initially, like was it through door knocking, tabling? Like did we have it like just know it's gotten to the successful people? Also, I mean, yeah, my thoughts are mainly on that like pipeline, like what has been the pushback, I guess, from the people that like, between like completed assessments and then signing the participation agreement, and then someone brought up the fact that like there's some dropout because people have multiple properties. If you have multiple properties, can you have multiple properties be electrified through this program? Okay.
if you're income eligible and your tenants in the second property are income eligible.
Yeah, those are my initial thoughts, but curious to see what other people think.
Great, thank you.
And yeah, following along the idea of celebrating those who participated, I wondered if we could make a video highlighting, getting little actual oral quotes from them and showing the cool stuff they got and how it was totally free. There was no scamming. And perhaps even asking them if they'd be willing to be on like a referral list of like people might call them with questions or, just wanting to actually talk to somebody. And that if you did make that video or even just the quotes or whatever you can manage, that maybe sharing that with all of those previous applicants who fell out of the way somehow and just saying, hey, look, here's the people who did this. You guys, you still have a chance to do this. Because I just think like they were so close, like that's a lot of folks to let them just disappear. And then I think the door knocking is helpful too, and even if you could recruit one of those people who participated, they'd be willing to go knock on a few doors too. I don't know, maybe it's asking too much.
Or maybe join a table.
Or
Tabling?
table, yeah, just to kind of, capitalize on that because it's part of the community and just hearing from another community member who did this speaks volumes, so. And I think just in my experience of it takes a lot to motivate people to actually do this stuff. So just hitting them up again, anybody whose door was knocked on, knocking again, anybody who was an applicant.
Yes,
I have an idea that I want to build on of encouraging people to come out and door knock with the two events happening in October. That would be a great place to invite them to come and speak. I think it adds extra credibility.
And if they're not available, like to do a little video.
Yeah. And that could be all over the website and all the places.
Sharon Kissel.
A lot of these were ideas I had, so I think we're aligned. One to build on the, how do we, leverage the successful participants? One is, I think we ought to think about a referral bonus, like literally pay them money to refer people if somebody else opts in. But you might also couple that with some agreement on their part that they will do a testimonial or they will do a call or a table or a door knock or whatever. And make it substantial. I mean, make it $200-300 and say, hey, if you'll do these things, then, we'll give you this money. So, and that goes back to, I think, the earlier comments about trust. So I think there's I'm doing a lot of work right now in EV lending for low-income families. And there's a big trust barrier in any kind of program, especially now with the federal government kind of, for any kind of people who feel like they're being targeted. So I'm wondering if there are any other nonprofit organizations that already have established trust in these communities that we could leverage to get the word out. Like I know Boys and Girls Clubs, for example, are very prominent in East Palo Alto and East Menlo Park, Bellhaven. And kids are often some of the earlier adopters of, environmental goals. So, you have a program where Boys and Girls Club is telling boys and girls about these things that they can tell their parents about. I mean, that's one example, but I don't know what other community organizations and nonprofits have trusted relationships with our target audience that we could also leverage. That might be helpful. And then, like I said, in the clarifying questions, this notion of unbundling the battery option, I think is it's an easy opt-in. It's a low cost. As Eduardo pointed out, some of these in-home batteries are like $2,000. I mean, it's pretty cheap to add a fair amount of battery capacity for resiliency and time shifting for cost. And if we're having trouble getting people to adopt more onerous engagements, this could be, you know, a gateway to your point earlier. Like, okay, maybe I'll start out with this battery and then I was like, oh, you know what, maybe I should have a heat pump, hot water heater. That's all I have.
Great. Commissioner Hernandez?
Yeah, so, well, so about the flyers, so I have heard from different people, like not everybody gets like a flyer in Bellhaven. Even Karen, who is in that picture, when I told her like, oh, I saw your face on a flyer, she was like, oh, I heard about it, but I never got it.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then other people, when they had like something like free, like pool days too, a lot of people didn't get like the pool flyers either. I talked to them and they said, oh, I never got it. And a lot of areas in Bellhaven didn't get like those flyers, so maybe we're not reaching like everybody there. And then like I think like Karen, she would like to talk about her experience as being one of the recipients of the program. Because to all the community events that are held in Bellhaven, she goes, and I think her like a lot, and I think she will be happy to do it if we ask her. And then there are like a lot of people in Bellhaven that people trust, and I think if we have them join us to go and talk to the community about this program, then we will reach out more people. But the problem is like, we don't understand like how the program works, so we need more clarification on how it works before we tell people like, oh yeah, just electrify your house, but I don't know how it works, so yeah. Yeah, and then about the berries too, yeah. So because we had like a blackout like last year, the year before, and it was like a 5-day blackout in our area. So a lot of us were like, oh, only gas work for us. So even though we want to go green, we don't want to be. And then the city took a long time to respond and be like, oh yeah, if you are more than this day, then we will give you like a hotel voucher. But by the time that happened, everything came back. So yeah.
It's a good argument for batteries.
Yeah. Yeah, and then a lot of the seniors have children in Bellhaven, like adult children, and so most of them work, so they're not able to go to a lot of these events. But on Wednesday, they usually do like lunch information, and I think the city can come and talk to the seniors about it, and then they can bring like that information back to their families. Yeah. Yeah, so that's it for me.
Great.
I had one other idea. I'm thinking about the All Five preschool that's in Bellhaven. The woman who founded it, Teacher Carol, she used to work at the MA co-op, which was very much like a parent education. And I think, I don't know enough about All Five to know if that's an important component of that program, but I mean, just looking at the list of like the teachers that are there, if we could find a way to connect with her, I know she's a big tree advocate and a Canopy plants a lot of trees there. Maybe we could find a way to reach out to her and do some type of gathering and yeah, see if they'd be willing to sponsor a night where all the parents come and someone shares information to learn how to make their homes healthier for their families.
I'm so glad we asked. These are so many great ideas.
Yeah,
Thank you.
really great ideas. Thanks, everyone. I agree with all of them. Many of them I had as well. Yeah, just uplifting telling the stories. I think that was one of my top ideas. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about, sort of a compensation for that work. And I guess I'm just curious, like, I think that's a really good idea, but then does that change the messaging? Like if someone knows that they're getting paid to send this message, I don't know sort of how that trust factor works, but just something to think about. But I mean, I do think it's important that folks that are gonna be spending time and effort get compensated. So I do believe that. And just wanted to uplift what the public comment made. Like I just have rinse repeat, like 3-4 times. Sometimes people need to hear about something before they sort of, it sinks in, and it's, could be on any topic, so. We don't necessarily have the luxury of time to go back and back and back, but I think that at some point, you know, that becomes effective and then, when I was curious in our outreach, do we have like a Mythbuster document? Because so many people have ideas about what it means to electrify and people have legitimate concerns and, there's a lot of education to be done around electrification. So just thinking about like just having something like an FAQ or something that says, okay, the grid and power outages and what works in a power outage and what, so, you know, just, we can go into that in more detail, but that was one idea that might be helpful for people to see when they're having these conversations.
Oh, yeah, and changing your pots and pans when you have a induction.
Mm-hmm. And then. Yeah, so the other thought I had was, and apologies if all of this is already happening, but have we thought about, you know, connecting with the churches in the community and either electrifying that building itself, or at least using the church as an opportunity for outreach and connecting with the community that way. That may be already happening. And then I guess I would be curious how much we've engaged with Councilmember Taylor to get her thoughts on ways that our messaging could be more effective, or we could reach more people. Sounds like we're reaching a lot of people and sounds like everybody, but I would welcome her thoughts on this item. And one other idea was maybe doing like an event around induction cooking that brings people together and cooks culturally relevant meals on an induction cooktop. I think that is a lot of concerns globally about like, I love my gas, but maybe letting people know how you cook on induction range and how great it is and how you can cook, you know, culturally relevant meals. Might be one idea to sort of bring more people in to the conversation. Yeah, and I had some other ideas just on how to spend the money differently, but those were kind of the ideas I had around getting more homes electrified. Any questions or comments further on that? And do you want also thoughts on different ways to spend the money?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. One thought was, could we electrify, like the Meet Maryland, the grocery store? Could we help small businesses in the community, electrify their buildings? Could we expand it to multifamily? Could we find a multifamily building in Bellhaven to electrify? And I guess the question there is, was that a state restriction or a city restriction or a PCE restriction or no restrictions? We can do it.
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah.
So PCE won't do that through their program, and so it'd be through kind of a separate procurement process that we would need to explore and have council approve. I think the main challenge is we don't have enough money to go around for all of like the affordable multifamily developments, and so we would have to do some sort of competitive process and select one or two. But that we could explore that further.
Okay.
But yeah, that one has been asked. The
Okay.
small business has not been asked.
Okay. Some of these ideas I had before, I knew we had to spend the first half by March, so
Yeah.
maybe some of these things would be like the second half
Definitely.
ideas. And then and like we wouldn't, like, if we decide to go down this path, we wouldn't have to necessarily fully electrify, or we wouldn't have to cover all the costs. It could be a shared arrangement where the building owner and the city work together to make the money go a little further, but it's just enough to get that building owner over the hump to do it. You know, we could think about money towards job training to help with workforce development. I think, I don't know if we did actually give money to job train initially. I know it was discussed.
No,
That's one other possible way to spend the money that I thought about. And then the last one's kind of just like maybe
going back to the
yeah.
job train. the issue we ran up against was our procurement, like we can't just select the
Mhm.
CBO and say, here's money.
Mm.
But we can put it out in RFP for here's a program we'd like to see implemented and have it be a competitive process. So I'm just curious what you were thinking you'd want an organization to do relative to workforce.
Well, it would just I haven't fully baked the idea, but just using our funds to help develop the workforce that's needed for this transition. And so it could be heat pump, space heating and cooling installation, or heat pump water heater installation skill program. Or just, general electrification, like electrical training. I don't know where, just helping those sort of nonprofits that are out there doing that work, maybe do it even faster or broader.
So offering like some sort of course.
Or funding a course, I guess, yeah.
Maybe an apprenticeship with a local HVAC company, 'cause there are actually some that are based in the area.
And funding for the apprenticeships, I think is important for them to take
Yeah.
on someone who's
Yeah,
new and unproven, but they'll be more likely to do it if there's resources there.
yeah, and stipends, incentives for the contractors to work with apprentices, yeah, I mean, Menlo Spark has done a lot of work on that, so we could lean on them for, help if we decide that that's something we want to consider. And the other idea I had was kind of like.
Oh, come on.
Well, I go to this event in the East Bay, it's called the Building Electrification Clubhouse, and they invite trades folks to make presentations to the contractor community. And anybody can attend, they're free, there's food, and it's just a community gathering. But it's really, the idea is to get more contractors thinking about electrification and hearing from their colleagues, their fellow contractors that are doing the work. So, maybe down the road, that's something that the city could sponsor or could find someone that wanted to. The event that I've gone to was sort of through the Oakland Sustainability Department, but it was this idea of someone at AEA, and it's just been it's been going on for about a year, and it's usually very well attended and really informative. So just a way to get more contractors excited about home electrification and just building decarb in general.
Sounds good.
So we have some great ideas. Do you want, like, you've taken notes, do you want us to make a recommendation, or do you have everything you need? Do any other commissioners have other comments?
So we'll be sharing these recommendations or this feedback in our staff reports. I'll be going to city council on September 30th, so I don't think we need to take a motion. We'll share the feedback, and this is all kind of within the direction they've already given us, at least on the outreach side. And then the ideas, we'll probably bring forward, before the end of the year to city council if we're not seeing an uptake in program.
I did have one other question,
Yeah.
maybe idea. The money, that's, can the money be spent citywide, I guess is the
Mhm.
question. Okay, so have we opened up the opportunity for other low-income folks outside of Bellhaven to participate?
No.
Is
And
that
that's the
something we,
council direction.
okay,
But that's something we could maybe revisit with the council at the end of this year.
Mhm.
I will note that we do have some homes participating in Peninsula Clean Energy's program outside of this. So like if they're not in Bellhaven, we just direct them straight to PCE.
okay,
That nuance is if they're at like 100% of the AMI, PCE is not gonna take them into the program.
Hmm.
But we technically would if they were in Bellhaven. And we've had some folks who are like close, like they're in the suburban park neighborhood. Or the Willows.
So we're going to 120 now, right?
Do we get any information from PCE about which low-income buildings they electrify through their separate program in order to count that toward the decarbonization of Menlo Park that we're pursuing with CAP?
Yeah, we have that. Yeah, we have that. Yeah, it's actually harder for them to tell us like just what they've done in Bellhaven. They have to go into our GIS and put in every address.
I guess I just, like, if we're, I don't know if you can even like do it this way, but like if we're getting close to that March deadline and we haven't spent the money and we need to find a few more homes, I don't know. if that's the point you go beyond Bellhaven, or if it has to be, seems like it would have to start well before that,
Yeah.
I think they already have like eight in Menlo Park
Hmm.
that are at the 80% AMI.
Okay,
So that would be fairly. easy.
They're Menlo Park, but not Bellhaven.
Correct. And they qualify for everything except for being in Bellhaven.
So we are already
They're already in the program
in the
and
program.
they have signed participation agreements and will fully electrify within the next couple months probably.
So I'm not sure. I'm
They're
clear.
not Bellhaven. They're not Bellhaven.
Right, but I thought originally the program was Bellhaven, so we've already officially expanded it beyond Bellhaven.
No,
No, we
I
didn't.
just am aware of those that are already at PCE's
Oh, the
pipeline.
PCE.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
not Door, got it.
Yeah.
But to your point about how we might wanna spend the money, we might wanna consider officially expanding it, but beyond Bellhaven, if there's not enough uptake.
While there's still time.
Mhm,
Right,
yeah,
while there's still
exactly.
time.
yeah.
We could also consider doing something different with the income limits. And. The next agenda item about matching rebates, to me, that seems like another opportunity to encourage electrification.
Yeah,
Citywide.
I'll note on the matching rebates, which is why we've been having some contract amendment delays with Peninsula Clean Energy, is that. They find it very difficult within their software to distinguish Bellhaven versus Menlo Park, and so we wanted to just offer the rebates to Bellhaven residents who are above the 120% AMI. To have access to those rebates. And PC is still trying to figure out if that's feasible. And so they definitely know it's feasible to serve all of Menlo Park with that matching rebate, but the Bellhaven piece, there's a little bit of an admin hurdle there. But right now, our kind of EQC and council direction is to focus on Bellhaven. With those matching rebates.
But how do we address John's question if we're running out of time to spend the money? Like, what?
If you could tell
near-term
if there's
pivots?
interest today, like if you would be interested in exploring those other program options of expanding outside of Bellhaven with the matching rebates or with the home upgrade services program.
Mhm.
I think, I mean.
I
don't
think
know
we
if
are
it-
feeling that way, and I guess
The city council.
the city
understands
council.
that Use it or lose it, kind of.
Maybe open it up
Sensitivity.
and still prioritize Bellhaven and prioritize all the outreach to Bellhaven. But make it open so that we don't lose it.
Although I do wonder if opening it up and not doing as much communication is gonna help. I think we may believe that we have done substantial outreach in Bellhaven and possibly we have reached the point of diminishing returns, and so a subsegment of communication might want to go toward the rest of the city. That's what you said, isn't it?
No, that's opposite of what I said. I was saying that we would continue to do the prioritization of Bellhaven with all the outreach to Bellhaven. But to open it up, and if somehow there was this giant influx. That would be a good problem to have, right? And then we could say, okay, now we're prioritizing Bellhaven and we're lower on the list, but.
Yeah.
If not, we get through
Yeah.
March to get the money. And then reevaluate and see, do we want to keep this open or?
I think if we open it up, then we may run the risk of, if we don't communicate, not getting any result from it, so there's that as well.
I'll bet you if we posted it on Nextdoor. With a link to something on the city website that says, what you have to do to be qualified. I mean, I don't know about you, but I monitor Nextdoor and just about any topic that's interesting goes viral. So I suspect if we put the word out there,
But we're targeting people,
lower income.
right? So I'm not certain about Nextdoor being a popular venue for everybody. I don't know
I've
much.
seen an awful lot of renters posting,
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
We have gotten quite a few leads from Nextdoor. We did a paid ad on them. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you didn't. It wasn't in your neighborhood. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Did you see it?
In the outreach you've done, does it ever come up that like homeowners are reluctant because they're not familiar with the contractors that will do the work, and they'd be more comfortable with their own contractor doing the work and
Hmm.
maybe allowing that? If it's sort of administered, yeah.
No, there was one renter. We knocked on his door And he said, I'm an electrician.
Hmm.
So he, he has his own
Okay.
connections, but that's really the only
Mhm.
hesitation that we've heard. He was a renter, so. Yeah, I haven't heard any. I think people are actually really excited to have it become turnkey, yeah.
I will just note that PCE is addressing some of the challenges they've had with the home upgrade services program, and they're bringing all the administration in-house. So they're hopeful that that will really streamline the process and just allow them to have the information they need at hand. They've sent out an RFP for installers. May very well be the same three that are doing it now, but I think they had to do that just because that's part of the process they have to go through. But they're expecting the program to be sort of running at full speed by the end of the year, if not sooner. So I think that will help as well.
Yeah, I think they were doing interviews last week with the contractors.
Okay.
Should be an update soon.
Any other comments?
So what I'm hearing, if I can clarify, is just, we have some really great outreach ideas, which we'll include in the staff report. And then we have an invitation to start exploring some program expansion, relative to small businesses, multifamily, for, workforce development. The building electrification clubhouse event, expanding beyond Bellhaven with both the rebates and the no-cost home electrification. Period.
Oh, and running, the idea I had that Zachary amplified about running an analysis on which of the cold outreach was most effective.
I think we're all very enthusiastic about storytelling, and people that have gone through the program and sharing that story with others and compensating them for their efforts if they're willing to do it. Making videos, yeah, a lot of great ideas.
And leveraging the seniors and the juniors
Yes,
to get word back to the.
awesome. And hopefully we'll get a chance to return with these details kind of expanded before we go to city council, but acknowledging it's already September, we might not get that chance. But stay tuned.
Great report, great program, great work. Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you to Liz for putting the slides together.
Okay, thanks, everyone. We'll move on to item D3, presentation from Matching Rebates Ad Hoc Subcommittee Plan. So, Commissioner Hernandez and I will do a presentation on this. So, Matching Rebates Ad Hoc Subcommittee Report. Go to the next slide, our agenda. We'll just talk about the scope of our subcommittee and some background on the air district rules, what's currently available in Menlo Park from an incentive standpoint, what other jurisdictions are doing, what are the costs, and we mostly focused here on heat pump water heaters, but we can expand the conversation beyond that if the commission would like to. So scope of our subcommittee was research viability impact of city matching electrification rebates currently offered by Peninsula Clean Energy in order to assist with transition to electric devices, particularly water heater rebates, in light of the pending air district rules scheduled to go into effect in 2027. So most of you are probably well aware of these rules, but the air district in 2023 passed two amended appliance rules, 9.6 and 9.4. 9.6 applies to water heaters that are 75,000 BTU per hour or less. And those are typically your residential tanked water heaters. That rule is the first rule to go into effect. It's starting January 2027. Currently, the rule won't allow any water heater that's 75,000 BTU or less to emit nitrogen oxides in its operation. So essentially, no gas-fired equipment does that now. So it's going to be an electric water heater. and heat pumps are the most efficient. 9.4 is a similar rule that applies to furnaces. And that rule goes into effect in 2029. The water heater rule, as part of the process, they had an implementation working group once the rule was passed, and through that process, they learned sort of where the market is, where's the workforce, what are the costs, and what are the challenges of implementing the rule. And so the Air District is now in the process of possibly amending the water heater rule to allow some flexibility for those really tough installs, and not overburdening anybody with the rules, whether it's from a cost standpoint or if it's just a technically sort of infeasible situation that's hard to overcome. So that process is starting. The board will probably consider those flexibility measures early next year. And, you know, in the process, you know, the main concern that, you know, residents might have or board members might have is just what is that upfront cost of installing a zero NOx water heater versus a gas water heater. And so one way to overcome that upfront cost is with rebates or other financial incentives. These are just for those that aren't totally familiar with heat pumps. These are just some pictures of a heat pump water heater on the left, and you can see that, well, there's not a lot to see there. It's a water heater that has a lot of water in it. Anyways, it's all electric, and there are some, you know, different things you have to do when you install a heat pump water heater versus a gas water heater. The heat pump water heater has to have a certain amount of air volume in the area to draw from. There has to be a condensate drain that's needed that a gas water heater doesn't need. Heat pump water heaters are typically a little bit larger than gas water heaters, so they require just a little more physical space. And they're electric, so you sometimes need to run a new circuit to the location. There's 240 volt, there's 120 volt. The 120 volt can just plug into an existing outlet. And those devices are becoming more and more common. And so that's sort of the differences between installing gas water heaters versus electric heat pump water heaters. And then the other two pictures are just of, you know, heat pump space heating and cooling. You've got the indoor unit. This is a mini, a ductless mini split system. So outside the building, there on the right is the outdoor unit, and then it works in tandem with the indoor unit on the wall. There's also the sort of more traditional heat pump space and heating and cooling units that work through the home's existing ductwork. And those are pretty seamless. So just looking at the incentives that are currently available for Menlo Park residents, as we just discussed, there's the home upgrade program for no-cost whole home electrification for income qualified residents, homeowners and renters if they qualify. And then for other folks that don't qualify for that program, Peninsula Clean Energy offers rebates for water heaters, for heat pump space heating and cooling devices. So the current rebates that Peninsula Clean Energy offers for water heaters are $2,500. And for if you're converting a gas water heater to a heat pump water heater, if you're replacing a electric resistance water heater, there's a $500 rebate. If you need some electrical panel upgrade work, you can get an additional $1,000 for that work. If you are a CARE or FARA customer, you get $1,000 on top of the $2,500 or $500. And then they also have a zero interest loan program. So up to $10,000, you can get a loan for the work, the cost of the work that I think has to be paid back in 5 years. And then there are the state rebates through Tech Clean California. These rebates come and go. They are offered, they're sort of channeled through the contractor. But currently there's an $1,100 rebate for heat pump water heaters that's stackable on top of the Peninsula Clean Energy rebate. If you're income qualified, that same $1,100 is actually $3,500 rebate. So, you're getting basically to a wash, in some state situations where the cost of getting a heat pump water heater is zero, or very, very small. There's kickers for if you get larger heat pump water heaters, another $700 through the tech program. And then as, manufacturers start to utilize lower global warming potential refrigerants, the Tech Clean program incentivizes that, so they offer another $1,500 for devices that use a GWP of 150 or less. And then, as we know, there's a federal tax incentive that people can take advantage of through the end of the year. That is 30% of the cost that remains after all these rebates, if there is any, up to $2,000. But that equipment has to be installed by the end of the year in order to get that rebate. So what are some other jurisdictions offering on top of, just in addition? So Redwood City, we kind of focused here on what are other cities doing that is in addition to whatever their CCA may be doing. So, but really across the Bay Area and even maybe across the state, there's really only 4 jurisdictions that are 5 actually that are offering additional incentives. So Redwood City, you can get another $500 for a heat pump water heater on top of the $2,500 that you can get from PCE, up to $1,000 if you're a CARE or FARA customer. In Milpitas, they offer an additional $850 to their residents on top of the Silicon Valley Clean Energy rebate, which is $2,000. So they can get a homeowner in Milpitas can get $2,850 rebates for a heat pump water heater. And then Albany, they offer a rebate through the city that's $500 for market rate standard residents. There's a $1,500 rebate for moderate income, $3,000 for low income. And then there's similar staggered rebates for panel upgrades based on income. But the sort of difference here is that AVA, unlike PCE, doesn't offer any rebates currently for heat pump water heaters. So someone in Albany only can get that $500, for example, and the tech and the federal incentives. Marin County they through MCE, if you're in Marin County, you can get an additional rebate on top of so MCE has a very unique program. They are trying to incentivize helping folks with emergency replacements. So it's really kind of in the weeds and not applicable here, but they do offer a little bit of a rebate for special situations. And then there's Mountain View, which was sort of the impetus for this subcommittee. They have this program called the Year of the Water Heater program. It just kicked off on Earth Day. And our former sustainability manager, Rebecca Lucky, who is now in Mountain View, was sort of spearheading this program. And she saw this as a sort of a she saw heat pump water heaters as a gateway appliance for folks to just kind of get familiar with home electrification. So she worked with the city of Mountain View. They offer a $2,000 rebate on top of the existing Silicon Valley Clean Energy rebate for a gas to heat pump transition. So a resident in Mountain View through this program can basically get a $4,000 rebate, which in most cases will cover all of the cost difference. And we'll talk about what the current costs are out there. The program is managed through SVCE. So someone that wants to get the rebates, they just go to SVCE. If they are a Mountain View resident, they get the $4,000, and then the city somehow chews up those costs with SVC on a regular basis. And so this is a limited program. It's really it's supposed to last a year, but it's also funded with a limited amount of funds. Currently, it's $250,000 from the city's capital improvement projects fund. Within that capital improvement projects budget, they have a $1 million sustainability fund. So that's where the money's coming from. Mountain View also got a $100,000 grant from SVCE to help with outreach and community engagement for the program. So that outreach and community engagement includes direct mailing campaign. They actually use block power data that they had somehow obtained, to kind of look at homes that had old water heaters that might be ready to replace. And then they also looked at, through their city permitting department, who in the city, who went to the city to get a solar or battery permit, thinking that those folks might be a little more inclined or interested in also electrifying their home. So they did some targeted direct mailing campaigning that way. They've also done some tabling at city events to promote this Year of the Water Heater program. And Rebecca came up with a mascot for the program called Watson. And they've got a costume and she's out there, promoting the program and connecting with the youth and then engaging the parents and the adults through that way. So, yeah, as I mentioned, it's a limited program. At the pace they're on, they'll probably run out of funds by the end of the year, which would make it a less than a 1-year program, but she's hoping to get some funds, additional funds authorized to the program so that it is a full year campaign. And the next slide just kind of breaks down the numbers that they have on their website regarding this program. So they're estimating the cost to get a heat pump water heater is about $6,350, with the $2,000 rebate from SBCE and the additional matching rebate from Mountain View. You've got $4,000 there. Anyways, the bottom line is, after all these incentives, including the tax credit, it's about a $385 cost on average. So it really, if you think about a gas water heater, which we'll talk about, it's probably $2,500 to $3,000 to replace a gas water heater with a gas water heater. When you can do a heat pump for $385, it makes it a much easier decision for homeowners. So current costs, Commissioner Hernandez did some research. Do you want to talk about some of the findings that you came across?
Yeah, so what I did, because I have an electric water heater in my house, so I called different companies and I used like the PCE contractors to come and give me an estimate. So different people came to my house, and so one of the person who came, he told me like, well, if we do a gas, I still have like the gas line next to my electric water heater. It will be around $2,500, including the water heater. But if you do like the heat pump, then it will be up to $9,000, because we had to open more space in the room because it needs air, and you need to add this and you need to add that. And he say, well, since you're a family of 3, I don't think it will make a big difference switching from a heat pump to from an electric to a heat pump. Even though I'm using like 135 amps to heat up my water heater, and I look at the instructions online and it's like 15 to 30 amps. I'm like, that's a lot of different amps. Yeah, so then I contacted the PCE directly to ask them about their program. So they send me like their information. So they have contracts with some contractors that need $65 to $7,500 for installation, and they help with a lot of the adjustment that you need to do, and they send you like all the instructions of what you need to have in your home to do like the replacement. And so here's like a list of like relocation. It can be up to $2,800. And then yeah, so Commissioner John, he found somebody for $5,400 to replace the water heater. Yeah, but when I look online, even how to replace it, it doesn't take like a lot of like skill to do it. Yeah.
Not to mention that there's a connector that you can have the air intake go
Yeah,
to somewhere else. You don't have to change your room.
yeah,
And it can come from their attic, that's
It
what we
can come
did.
from your attic, yeah,
yeah.
or outdoors.
Yeah, so it made me wonder if some people are against like electrifying
Yeah.
houses, and they want to be traditional and stay with gas. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there can be a real range of quotes that you can get from contractors, and, every home is unique and different, and, some situations are a little more challenging than others. But in general, I think the numbers that Mountain View used, the 6,300 is a pretty good typical cost. Sunwork is a nonprofit that does heat pump water heater installations. They typically will only do the type of install where it's in the garage. But they're a lower cost option. They can get down to $5,400 on average. So yeah, there's a range, but the delta, is kind of in that $3,300 to $5,000 range on average. So just some other thoughts we had around, the question really for the commission is this something that we want to consider, or would this be helpful in accelerating our city's efforts to decarbonize our buildings? And would this be something that's helpful in terms of like ramping up to these air district rules that are coming down the road here soon, and helping people get more familiar with heat pump water heaters, and just bringing that cost delta down for folks to comply with the ultimate rules. But other things that we could talk about is, organizing bulk buys to bring down those upfront costs, sort of a more of a community organizing, maybe neighborhood effort to work with your neighbors to buy multiple units at the same time, bring the cost down. There is some work being done within Menlo Spark really on rebates may not be like a long-term sustainable answer to these upfront costs. Financing may be a better avenue, and one way that you can work in that program is to bring interest rates down to 0 or low interest rates, but that typically involves sort of a financing mechanism of buying down that interest rate. So cities could potentially participate in that with funds to buy down those interest rates. It would probably be a much larger program through the CCA, for example. And then, just Eduardo, you want to talk about just your concerns about the economy and how people are thinking about just spending money right now?
Yeah. Yeah, because even if it is like $6,500, that's a lot of money to put out, especially when you see like, oh, I can do it for $2,500, and then people are not sure like how much money they will save having the like the pump water heater. And now with the tariffs coming into play, so that will put prices up.
Yeah.
And then people are worried about like losing like their employment too, so they're trying to stay close to their money in case we get laid off, or yeah.
Yeah. So just some ideas for discussion. Is this something the commission thinks Menlo Park should consider, a program similar to what Mountain View is doing that would go beyond Bellhaven and would just be available to anybody in the city, whether you're income qualified or not? And if we do want to consider that, what would the parameters be for that program? How much money would be allocated? Where would that money come from? How long should the program run? When should it start? Should we think beyond heat pump water heaters? Should we think about, matching rebates for other things that PCE offers rebates for, like space heating and cooling, or I don't know if they have any other rebates. Panel upgrades, right? Or should we just, consider utilizing our grant funds or our city funds in different ways? So that is our presentation. I'll open it up to clarifying questions.
There was a clarifying question, but can we use any of that $2.2 million for this program? We could.
We could. Council would need to approve that. That's the ETC would need to make a recommendation.
No other clarifying questions? Okay, well, open it for public comment then, please.
Okay, we can open it up for public comment on item D3, presentation from the matching rebates ad hoc subcommittee. If you're in the room and you'd like to make public comment, you can hand me a public comment card. If you're online, you can press the raise hand button, and if you're calling in, you can press *9 and we can unmute you. We can start with the public comment card that we have in the room with Brian Schmidt. You can start when you're ready.
Thanks again, Brian Schmidt, Menlo Spark. Regarding, I was thinking about a couple things, especially regarding using the community-wide electrification grant. The usual way to build community support is to spread the benefits widely. Spreading it widely and spreading it evenly are not the same thing. And there's good reasons to not spread the community electrification grant evenly across Menlo Park. But giving some benefit outside of Bellhaven seems to me the appropriate thing to do. So using some of that money for the broader area could be useful, especially if you kept how much of that money could be spent on those things. And as far as doing that, I would split that funding into two categories. Heat pump water heaters, and then benefit for renters. Because I'm not sure, heat pump water heaters would be my priority, given the upcoming rules. But I'm not sure how well you can do anything with that for renters. So doing something that provides some type of rebate appropriate to renters would be appropriate. I keep thinking about Commissioner Kissel's suggestion about battery. That might be appropriate for renters, and probably wouldn't necessarily fund the whole thing, but doing some type of partial rebate for that could be very useful. So as long as it does not eat up the whole program, it also provides, in addition to creating general community support, it can help address the issue of making sure that we expend these funds in a timely manner. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for your comment. And I don't see any cards in the room or hands online, so we can close public comment on item D3 and return the meeting to Chair.
Great, thank you. Any discussion from the commission on this idea, the presentation, any questions, thoughts?
I have a couple of thoughts, so, I agree with Brian Schmidt that, offering it more broadly to the full community with caps and making sure we have allocation for renters. It really is kind of a gateway entry into home electrification. It's probably the easiest one and the clearest benefit economically. I mean, you will absolutely save money on your utilities if you switch to a heat pump, hot water heater. And the fact that other cities are also supplementing other incentives at the federal or the CCA level, I think makes a lot of sense. One area that I think we should think about is, to Eduardo's point, replacing an existing functioning water heater is a higher hurdle. Whereas the emergency replacement is a totally different dynamic. And so if you gotta replace one anyway, that's a prime time to put in a heat pump hot water heater. I don't know the logistics of being able to support that. And certainly I had that personal situation and I was able to get a 120 volt because I had 120 volt plug where my existing hot water heater was. And it can be done at very low cost and very low effort. So I would prioritize the emergency replacement. That's going to be a small percentage. And then the question is, for the non-emergency replacement, how do we address the concerns that folks will have about, hey, I've got a hot water heater that may have a 10-year life and it's only 5 years old, so I would replace them. So I don't know how you, other than the fact that rebates are going away, so you'd have to kind of use scare tactics to say your hot water heater is only got a 10-year life and you're 5 years into it. But you could do it for almost free now with all these incentives. Maybe you should think about doing that. And so you might want to, target and message around that, not, just, it's good for the environment and it'll lower your utility costs, like have them answer a question like, how long have you had your electric hot water heater? And if it's emergency, are you seeing leaks from your hot water heater, whatever, to try to focus in on the folks where the economic benefit is really compelling.
I will just quickly add, your heat pump water heater is probably the largest emitter in your home. It's either that or your furnace, and they're pretty comparable. So it is a significant appliance to replace in your home that contributes greatly to emissions reductions. So there's that benefit too of focusing on water heaters.
And is there a way to get the word out about this emergency program that PCE has too? I mean, I feel like.
It was one of the other counties, so it was
PCE also
MCE or
has-
somebody
they do
did
have
the
one.
emergency.
BC does have emergency
Well, they do,
water
okay.
heater replacement
Okay.
program. Yeah, but I think you have to pay for it, right? I mean, it's not free.
For income eligible folks, it's free,
Yeah,
but yeah, otherwise you have to pay for it.
Is that 80% of the
still
MLA?
saving.
or-
Money,
Theirs is 80%. And they have the 0% loan.
right?
Mm.
Just because that happens so quickly and people are just gonna pick up their phone.
Exactly, and I call Home Depot and Home Depot is not gonna pitch you a heat pump hot water heater. They're gonna pitch you.
Or
a
the
like for
contractor
replacement.
of them,
Yeah.
so it's like working with those contractors, working with these local merchants to say, hey, this is an opportunity. And just getting that out there regularly so that people have it top of mind.
I think
While
that
you're saying,
Eduardo's experience, right? He called and they tried to tell him it wasn't worth.
Yeah.
right, but if the city is regularly promoting it, if PCE is regularly promoting it,
I don't think the problem is, I don't think people hear from PC and I don't think they hear from the city. I just don't think they do.
or maybe it's some of these other outlets that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know, Brian, what's your perspective on, reaching folks
But we can't
like
do
this? They don't,
public
we already
comment.
have
people-
public comment, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. I just don't think people go to the city website, to, like, my water heater's failing, so I'm gonna go to the city website and see what.
Mr. Chair, I would say that a member of the commission can ask questions through the chair of anybody.
Okay, I'll defer to Rachel on that.
It just turns into public comment if it's someone not on the commission.
So we could reopen public comment? Or,
No.
no, okay.
Okay,
It's a Brian.
sorry, I didn't hear anything you just said.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mountain View, if we're trying to model around their program or like what they've done, it's really just a promotional program to get people familiarized with electrification, make the transition basically cost neutral. And, certainly if your water heater breaks, you can take advantage of that program, but they're really just, like I said, they have this targeted effort to look at homes that have old water heaters. And so, I don't know if we have that database available in our city, but that would be a really useful tool to have to sort of target the funds towards folks that are maybe gonna have an emergency replacement soon and catch them before they do.
Seems like a good idea to me. I'm supportive of water heaters and beyond. I mean, if we have money that we're trying to figure out how to spend to, find ways to encourage people to take action so that we can have a greater chance of meeting our climate action plan seems like a worthwhile use of our funds and time.
I mean, it really has two benefits. There's an economic benefit to the homeowner or renter or whoever. And it's a big environmental benefit.
Yeah.
And it's not nearly as invasive as the HVAC replacement work.
So I guess I first would like to see how many commissioners are supportive of the city pursuing this, and then if we have a majority, what would we like that program to look like? When do we want it to commence? How much money do we want to allocate towards it? How long does it run? Those sorts of things. So I don't know, do you like the concept? Would you want the city to consider this matching rebates program similar to what Mountain View doing? I'm just gonna go around the room and just see if we have enough support to even go further. And
I don't know for a fact, but I'm gonna guess that almost all water heater replacements happen in an emergency situation. So therefore keying in on that moment in time, that decision moment in time seems useful. And the permit search to get in front of it, you're gonna be in this situation within the year, so do that, but that would be high cost for the city to run the permit search and then do the personal outreach or send the mailing. So in order to set up this permit program, we'd have to commit staff to running it, if it were done by my criteria, commit staff to running the permit search, doing the outreach of people whose permits are 8+ years old. And then tying it promotionally to emergency, but not restricting it to emergency, anybody who is willing to.
Yeah.
And one other point I forgot, may I reserve?
Of course.
Yeah.
So you're kind of a maybe on the.
No, I think it requires some fleshing out.
Yeah.
And the way I think it could work would be promoting it around the emergency situation based on a permit search. And the amount of money, we could key off of what Mountain View allocated. Maybe position it with city council or ourselves as a pilot.
Mhm.
This is a pilot of this idea. In advance of the zero NOx air district rule coming into effect.
I like everything you're saying. And thinking about the lifespan of a water heater versus the lifespan of a new, say, furnace or air conditioning unit. I'd like us to consider the space heating and cooling. Because those last, what, 25 years? So if someone puts in a new furnace or new AC, well, not AC, but really a new furnace, that's gonna be 25 years of gas. So if they're thinking about their house, I would like to have extra incentives to do the heating and cooling as well. And I would even consider things like the cooktop or the range, EV charging, so that's been a challenge, even EVs, because a lot of the incentives have been going away at the federal level. And maybe even solar and batteries. I'm kind of like, if we're gonna do an incentive program or a rebate program, why not encourage all the things we wanna see done?
I guess the assumption is limited money.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Maybe not. I mean, we seem to have a hard time spending the money that we have. So I'm a little bit like, here,
Yeah, I don't
You
know
know?
if this program is a solution to us spending the money by March, because just. If we make a recommendation, it has to go to council and then program has to get created and like.
Yeah,
It
it's-
probably is not even up and running by March, right? Am I making some poor assumptions or?
I think it could be up and running by March.
Yeah, but, okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
Wow.
But actually, expend, like
Spending money.
Exactly.
allocating the funds and drawing down our
Yeah,
number. But so, not to say that like we shouldn't still consider this, but I don't know that it's a solution necessarily for our March deadline.
Is our deadline March or June?
we have a March deadline of spending the first half. And then the second half we have to spend by December 2027.
So June is just, I've got this wrong.
That was the
an
old
Old
deadline.
deadline,
So our deadline got worse?
No,
no. Our old deadline for spending the whole amount was June 2026.
Can I ask just what was the impetus for this? Having you guys go off and think about matching rebates? Like what problem are we trying to solve, other than the ones we already know about?
the,
Climate action.
well, I heard about Mountain View having a matching rebate program and I thought, oh, that's a great idea. We've got these air district rules coming down the line. Upfront cost is a big concern for a lot of folks, so maybe other cities should be doing what Mountain View is doing. And so that was the impetus for bringing it to the commission. Is just that, and then yeah, just, you know, promoting decarbonization in general, but yeah, that was the impetus. And then I will say, like, we even had the discussion around rebates in general and like, you know, rebates help, but then contractors might adjust pricing, and so do rebates sort of have a counter effect? So we don't have an answer on that, but it was a concern that we thought about.
That's a good point.
Just trying to narrow in on my thoughts. One thing that just came up is talking about that upfront cost is a big concern for a lot of people, and we just got to a conversation about the program that takes care of all the costs for people, but we're having trouble getting people to do that, so who is saying upfront cost? It's like the biggest thing, is I guess one question. I think ultimately, I like the idea of matching rebates, especially more than opening up the whole electrification to everybody except for Belhaven. I think what Brian was saying about like, you know, not equal, but you know, open it. I also want to like stay latched onto what Spark is saying with making sure if we were to do something like this, that renter benefits are, considered. I don't know what that looks like, maybe more like the renter like electrification kits. I know there's like $100,000 is set aside for that, but maybe expanding it to like more and like maybe every new renter, I don't know.
Yeah, just to quickly answer that, top of my head, I think it
Yeah.
could benefit renters in a way that it would encourage landlords to switch to heat pumps
Yeah.
when they need to, or when they see an opportunity with it costing very little with after the rebates. And so that would indirectly benefit the renters, but yeah, renters themselves aren't actually going out and purchasing a
Yeah.
water heater, so. But if we can make landlords more likely to do that, then everyone benefits. That was just my top of my head thought.
Yeah, and I guess another thought, kind of Nancy was bringing, or Heather was bringing up. Is kind of like a rebate for more than just the water heaters. Is there like some sort of thing we can make that's like, or just like an electrification rebate,
Mhm.
like cash it in on for one of these things?
I mean, in our matching rebate, we can decide what we want to recommend. It could be match exactly what PCE is offering or do $1,000 in addition to what PCE is offering. I mean,
Yeah,
we can think about that and decide what we think is best.
So I'm in favor and just building off what you're saying, I mean, I think. Getting it down to as close to zero as possible is gonna be enticing. And then even if we can't get it all the way down, we could potentially partner with one of these. Credit card companies that offers these. Zero interest, 18-month, whatever. So if you had to pay the $350 and that was still a hardship or a concern because of the economy.
Mm.
You could. Grab one of those and pay that off a little more slowly and then knowing that your electricity. Or your gas bill is then that much lower, so you have the money to pay this small
Mhm.
monthly additional fee and then it goes away and then you're. In the green.
And there's also PCE's zero interest financing.
And there's PCE zero interest financing as well, but if for some reason someone wanted to use that for the bigger ticket item. But yeah, I think just advertising around the cost. The fact that your water heater is probably gonna die pretty soon in the next few years. I mean, statistically, if it's only gonna last 10 years. Most people's have had it for a while and they're not paying attention. And so unless they replaced it really recently, it's probably getting up there. And so, just kind of saying, do you want to be standing there with no shower? Trying to fix this, or do you want to be ahead of the game, saving money while you can now and it's free? And blah, 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 and it's cheaper to run and all this stuff, and yeah, talk about the cost. I like the idea of adding in. The HVAC as well, and offering the rebate, and I think right now. We're all sweltering and people are running out and wanting air conditioning, and that's just gonna keep getting worse. Let's not let them install gas. Air conditioners or non-heat pump air conditioners.
Well, that's passed. We're doing that. Yeah,
Right.
but it'll be helpful to have some extra money to offset
So
this.
that's offset it. But, yeah, so. In favor of.
I'm fully supportive of it. I think we do need to cap it. And I think we ought to open it up to the whole city, not just Bellhaven. We have spent a lot of time and energy trying to serve Bellhaven, and I think that's great. But I think, the reality is there's not a great product market fit, if you will, right now for Bellhaven. And so we ought to expand it, with a cap and maybe we do characterize it as a pilot. And we say, we're gonna put $500,000 into this and see what kind of uptake we get across hot water heaters and HVAC. And I think, the amount per unit should try to get us to the point where the cost is comparable to replacing with a gas hot water heater. So if that's $2,500, let's look at all the stackable rebates and find out what the delta is and make our rebate fill that delta.
So Mountain View took 250K to run it. That could be a starting point for our thinking.
Sure.
Yeah, and then you got 100K from SVC for outreach, community engagement, so
That's appealing.
I assume we can get that PCE, but I'd love to hear.
And our mascot could be named Watley.
You have any thoughts?
No, I support the idea, yeah.
I'd love to hear staff's input if you have any.
Yeah, so city council did approve 500,000 in matching rebates. But at the time we got that approval was for just Bellhaven. So I do think it would be reasonable to ask city council if we could expand to all of Menlo Park. I think we'd really want EQC's feedback. And I heard kind of differences of opinion on what type of equipment and how much. And so I know it's a little late, but it could be beneficial to get into the weeds now so we
Sure.
can expedite
Mhm.
of our recommendation to city council.
Sounds like we have the data right now.
And we could just copy Mountain View.
Or just double what PCE is doing
PCE
That's
offers
what we-
2,500
That's
for
our
water heaters
for water heaters.
and 1,500 for
1,500 for
each
space,
one.
yeah.
But for hot water heater, 2,500, if the electric, or no, I'm sorry, the gas replacement is 2,500 today, right? And we're seeing 6,500 for a heat pump.
Mhm.
There's a $4,000 delta. We're getting 2,500 from PCE. There's the statewide program. Is that only income eligible?
No, it's $1,100 for anyone, and
Oh.
it's 3,500 for income qualified, but that program comes and goes.
Oh, I see.
It's not, it's
It's
hard
hard
to,
funded now.
I feel like we shouldn't count on any federal tax credits or the clean tech thing. I would think about
we
PCE.
could possibly qualify our matching rebate to say like, if the tech clean rebate's available, then the
Hmm.
matching rebate from the city is
X.
less
Yes.
or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if that gets too complicated, but yeah.
It feels complicated.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2,500. From PCE,
So
and we
we
need to
do
come
want
up
to do
with
1,500.
1,500. That gets us to basically parity with
Mhm.
replacing with a gas.
Mhm.
That'd be my recommendation.
Seems reasonable. What about the HVAC?
Into thoughts. We didn't do as much research on what it costs to replace a furnace with a heat pump.
It's pretty substantially different.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're gonna be able to offer enough incentive to cause people like, and I had also a very old gas furnace. It didn't fail, but I was, I'm doing it primarily for environmental reasons, but
Yeah.
I think it cost us $25,000 to
Okay.
replace a ducted system with a heat pump ducted system. And I think it would have cost us maybe $10,000 to put in a new gas furnace, so there's not a big payback there. You gotta wanna do it, so.
We had the same setup ducted. I got 8 quotes. They went from 15,000 to 80,000.
For
80,000.
heat pump,
And the ducts are already installed.
right, yeah.
So it's kind of like the 9,000 one you got, but in any event, the point is that. It's a lot of money
Yeah,
and
our
depends on who you
incentives are-
talk to.
Our incentive's not gonna close the delta.
Yeah.
We
At
can't
the
afford
same
it.
time. Wait, let's see. If people are putting in air conditioning, they have to put in a heat pump. Soon, at some point in the future, what, January 1st?
They don't have to, there's an alternative path, but they're
Okay.
encouraged to do so.
Okay,
Well, so air conditioning does not involve NOx. And so it's just
right.
the fact that you'd be getting a more efficient one.
Well, and the idea is that you'll learn that your heat pump can heat your home and you don't need to turn your
Right, yeah.
furnace on and off, yeah.
Right, so would it be helpful to have a rebate to support people in making that transition, because it's gonna be a large outlay, whether it's because of the city's requirement or the future air quality district.
I think we can offer it, I just don't think it's gonna move. the
Yeah.
needle. I mean, even if we offered
Yeah.
$2,000 or $3,000 incentive on a furnace conversion. Economically, it's not gonna change people's minds, because the difference is so substantial.
So you think we shouldn't do it?
No, I can offer it, why not?
Well, again, it comes with that
'Cause-
10,000
the-
zero interest loan from TCE, which if you've got the average of 15 to 20,000 as a quote,
Right,
can kind of close that delta.
well, but it's a loan, it's not,
Yeah,
you have to repay the loan.
Right.
It's dollars,
it is.
there's no interest on it.
It's free.
But I think, to your point, there's a 30-year life cycle, and if.
Yeah.
$5,000 or $3,000 incentive for a furnace, even though it doesn't close the gap, causes somebody to do it, it's worth doing it. So maybe it's $3,000 for a furnace and $1,500 for a heat pump hot water heater.
And maybe it's an invitation to work with the subcommittee if we don't want to disband today.
Okay,
Staff can continue to work with the subcommittee on figuring that out.
I like that idea, yeah. I will say, I think AC to heat pump stands on its own as a great policy, but I do see a benefit of the city saying, hey, we're gonna help you. Make that decision on which you wanna get. So I do like the idea of expanding it to space and water heating to some level. And again, think about what that number is, but.
But as with the other programs we talked about, the outreach is,
Yeah,
and here we have this point of leverage where there's that moment of panic when you need to replace. If we can insert there.
That sounds like a
The
really good idea.
the one
But-
point about the permit searches, I wouldn't count on it. Most people replace their hot water heaters without a permit, so we're not gonna have good data, but I think you can just message people to say, if your hot water heater is more than 5 years old, people will know. Yeah, this is the same hot water heater when I bought the house 8 years ago or 10 years ago. And, and by the way, here's the statistical data that they typically last 10 years.
Mhm.
And the federal rebate's going away, the PCE rebate's going away, the Menlo Park rebate's going away. Now it's time.
okay, so. We are supportive, we want to consider this, we want to recommend it. We have some details to work out. Do we need to have further discussion around the details now, or to your point, keeping the subcommittee open and working with staff and then coming back to the commission at a later date? Is that a better path at this point? Or
We
good
could
path?
forego coming back if the commission's okay with that.
Oh,
or
okay,
Expediting this.
okay.
I mean, what more details do we need? Is this a cap?
Amounts, I guess, yeah, what's the full amount that we want to allocate? I
think
assume we
so.
want the program to start ASAP, but do we
Right,
want it
so
to?
given let's assume we can get this thing rolled out
Yeah,
soon enough to actually spend some of the remaining money. $1,500 for a heat pump hot water heater, $3,000 for a furnace. Total amount for the program, $250,000. That's a starting point for consideration. I just like to, decide and make the recommendations. The council may say, or staff may say, can't do it, but.
I mean, and I trust the subcommittee and staff to run the numbers but this seems like a reasonable place to start.
And 250 across the whole city.
so if. People took advantage of both rebates, that would cover 55 homes. So,
I mean, it would be an awesome problem if
Yeah.
we ran out of
Yeah,
money.
exactly.
I don't think we're
And-
risking getting up against.
Yeah, I mean, we could get more money if we wanted to go back to the state and say like, hey, we spent all the money, we're doing all this great work, will you give us more? It is a good argument. So I would just love to see us spend it.
and then just. PCE and SVCE offer $500 rebates for people converting from electric resistance to a heat pump water heater. Mountain View is matching that in SVCE territory. Do we want to do that as well?
Sure.
Okay.
Anything around panels? Panel upgrades?
Mountain View didn't offer any matching on panels that I
People are trying to encourage, not,
Yeah,
like, we're trying to show people they can upgrade or,
Yeah.
yeah, electrify without panel upgrade.
And honestly, people have to do a panel upgrade to get a hot water heater, they're just not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Panel upgrades can take 6 to 9 months, they can cost, $5,000 to $20,000, so it's just like, that's. So I'd highly encourage the 120 volt for anybody who's looking at it. Cause it's a totally easier. There's highly likely you're gonna have a 120 volt socket somewhere in close proximity to where your hot water is.
okay, great.
Awesome work.
Is there a motion or anything?
Do you need a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess Jack can take a stab at it.
Go for it.
EQC recommends that the city allocate $250,000 of the CEC grant money to a matching rebate program that's available citywide, income qualified or not, which would start as soon as possible and would offer $1,500 rebates on top of, well, just a $1,500 rebate for heat pump water heaters converting from a gas water heater, $500 for converting from electric resistance to heat pump, and so $3,000 for. Are we gonna require that a furnace be removed?
No.
No, so it's just $3,000 for a heat pump, space, or water heating system. I mean, space or cooling, space, heating or cooling system.
Okay. So I have a motion from Chair McKenna. That. That $250,000 of the CEC grant money, is allocated to matching rebate program citywide. Regardless of income, to start as soon as possible, offering $500 for an $500 to replace an electric resistance. Water heater with a heat pump water heater, $1,500 to replace a gas water heater with a heat pump water heater, and $3,000 to install a heat pump space heater or cooling system.
I second.
You want to-
I guess I wanna say a couple things. It's not space heating or cooling because it's just an HVAC system, which is both, right?
Yeah,
$3,000 for
Heat
pump
yeah,
HVAC.
heat pump HVAC system.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wonder if we need to add anything around, like the ownership piece to make it clear that property owners who don't reside in that place could also use the rebates for their properties.
I think it's okay with that, because PCE's program allows that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's already clear.
Yeah.
Okay, I just don't want it
Yeah.
to get lost somewhere that like, oh, only if you own the house and
Right,
live in the
right.
house, you can do it, because we really want to make sure the renters are included in this.
Yes,
You know, if we're aligning with PCE, like matching PCE, then we're good.
Okay,
Good.
good.
Okay, and then we have a second from Kissel?
Yeah.
Okay, do I need to reread it, or do we all feel good?
okay.
it feels so good.
Chair McKenna. Okay. Great, all in favor? Are there any opposed? Any abstaining? Great, the motion passes with 7.
Thank you so much, John.
That was
Mhm.
great work.
And Eduardo.
Eduardo, yes.
Yeah, super.
Sorry about to go through getting all those quotes. That sounded painful.
Okay, great, thanks everyone. We'll move on to agenda item E, reports and announcements. We will now hear reports and announcements from staff and commissioners. Would staff like to go first, or
I'm just pulling up where I have my notes, so if you wanna start, please.
any reports or announcements from commissioners?
I can start.
Please.
So back in January, John and I talked about reducing single-use plastics, and one of our recommendations was the party packs, which could be, shared amongst community members. Well, 350 Silicon Valley put in a proposal for the community grant funds from the city, and they were approved. So we are in the process soon to be buying 5, like one for each district, a party pack. And so we're gonna be rolling this out. It's very exciting. Lynn Dando has done so much work on this. But the specific thing I want to share is that we are looking for hosts, so someone to have, a box about yay big in D2 and in D5. So the intention is to host one in each of the districts across the city. So if you know anyone or you live in those areas, let me know.
I'll volunteer for D5.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Thank you. And the second announcement is Actera's, it used to be called the Electric Home Tour. It's been rebranded, the Green at Home Tour. The date's been made official November 8th from 11 to 4. They are looking for people to host the tour. So if you've been electrifying your home and you want to welcome people, that you can apply for that. And you can also get your free tickets if you want to go check out other people's homes.
Just
And
remember when.
8th. Yeah, and I was a host last year and it was really fun and very energizing. And I have lots of other things to say if you're doing it
Do they offer like a stipend
for,
for the homeowners to participate?
not
No.
that I'm aware of.
Just a pat on the back.
Yeah,
And do people walk through your whole house? How does that?
Depends how you wanna do it.
Oh,
I've had it for 2 years and I have, my hot water heater and my furnace are in the same enclosure, and then outside's the compressor, so we typically show them the outside compressor. You may wanna run the compressor so they can hear it, cause that's one of the questions, like how loud is it? Same for the heat pump hot water heater, people will look online and they'll say, oh, they make noise. So I don't remember who addressed the, feelings we doubt, but those are the kind of machines that want this is the boss and who's gonna install it. So you can limit where, where you.
yeah, it's really up to you. And they get volunteers from Stanford to help, sign people in and tour people around. I had friends and my parents over helping.
Oh, yeah.
And it was nice because I've heard from friends who did it by themselves and they had multiple things to share. They had lost their voice by the end of the day.
Oh,
So I'd say don't do it on your own. Get some friends.
our water heater's making a lot of noise, and I have to say that.
It was really fun. And it could be a great thing if people are doing it in Bellhaven and you could encourage the community to come check it out.
Great idea.
Any other? Actually, I had a question on the last agenda item. Are we allowed to go back? The motion we made?
Like changing the motion?
Well, can I just say what my thought is?
Sure.
How are we gonna promote the program? Oh,
Let's take that, yeah, as a subcommittee.
okay,
Then.
all right, great. Okay, then I think that's everything from the commission.
Okay.
Staff?
Did you wanna go first with the scavenger hunt? Oh, do you have it? It's over there, yes, I can grab it. So. Public Works wanted me to share out that we are doing the heritage tree scavenger hunt, with the new tree tags.
Yes.
And we'd encourage everybody to do it. The deadline to submit is the 22nd. And if you submit, you're entered into a raffle to win a free bird tree.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, super cute.
It's super cute. Did you get our feedback about some people maybe not having space for a fruit tree or wanting a fruit tree and maybe they would want
A different.
or like a $50 gift certificate to get herbs for their kitchen garden or their kitchen windowsill or something.
Was that, I didn't see that. Maybe that was
I
to
thought-
Joanna.
I emailed it maybe to Joanna.
We'll check
maybe
in with her.
This is
We'll
all.
Yeah.
check, we can
we'll
work
check.
with the
Yeah, okay.
homeowner, yeah,
Okay.
or resident.
Yeah. Just
Are
wanna
there
make it-
English and Spanish ones? This one's all Spanish.
Oh,
Thank
would you like an English one?
I can
Sure.
run up a good.
Yeah.
Okay.
you.
Anyone else like an English or Spanish one?
Yeah, this is Spanish.
Okay, we have English. So that makes
There
sense.
we go.
Pass that around. And then we have, some of the good stuff flyers, if you want to check them out or take some with you. We brought 10 down, but we can give you more if you're interested. And then, yeah, we can also, find another way to get them to you if tonight's not a good night to share it. And then, as I mentioned, September 30th, we're bringing our home upgrade progress report, so we'll share that once the agenda is published the week prior. And we had a great meeting with our PD team. last week, where we've been discussing how enforcement is going. So far, PD has been able to respond to every call that they've gotten through dispatch since July 1. There
I'm
have been
talking about Zelly.
there have been 56 calls and they've been able to make contact with about half of those folks. The other half were already gone by the time they got there. Of the half they made contact with, 25% of them had electric on their truck and they just needed the, encouragement to use the electric, or maybe it was charging. And so that, they already knew about the rule and were apologetic. The other 25%, it was new information. And so we're getting some great education out. No citations have been issued yet, because the education has still been a really positive experience. So we are encouraging folks to call dispatch non-emergency line, because we do have the, capacity to go out there in real time. And we are making better contact than kind of sending letters, which we were doing through the Act Menlo Park. Yeah, well, that's it from us.
Great. Okay, we'll move on to item F, informational items. Our next item is informational items. Informational items are transmitted to the EQC in staff's effort to provide updates. Informational items are not action items. However, city council, staff, or members of the public may ask questions or make comment. Are there questions or comments from the EQC on informational item F1 2025-26 Environmental Quality Commission work plan?
Yes, I wonder about the deadline for the readout for the subcommittee on emissions and if that might be altered. Brian and I were talking about it and thought it's a fairly meaty topic and wondered if November was really enough time.
Yeah, I did look at the work plan and it seems like maybe February could be a good time if you're open to that.
That sounds good.
Okay. And then the work plan will be approved at the September 30th city council meeting as well. And so then in October, we can file it and formalize all of the subcommittees.
Great.
Any other questions or comments from EQC? Okay, Ms. Launder, do we have any public item comment on this item?
Sure, let me call for public comment on item, is it F1?
Yes.
The 25-26 work plan. If you're in the room and you have a public comment card, return it to me. If you're online, you can hit the raise hand button, or if you're calling in, you can press *9. See no hands or cards, and you can end public comment for item F1.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, public commenters. This meeting is adjourned.